things get a little interesting with these next three teams, guys. This next team coming up, uh, what can I say about this team? Was really damn good 2 years ago. A lot of people discredited how well of a team they were when it was all said and done, due to the West being hurt. I think they took the lead by storm. I think they were the third seed, if I'm not mistaken, with 47 wins or something like that. This offseason, they said, you know what, we have to find ways to get better. We have to find ways to compete, and we have to find ways to be to have our fans take us more serious. You know, let's get on the Nuggets level. Let's get on OKC level. Let's get on Minnesota level. Let's get on Dallas level, because I don't think they think that they were far from that. This next team is the Sacramento Kings. This past offseason, they added DeMar DeRozan. Whenever you have the opportunity to add a guy like that, Jordan laughing. Whenever you have the opportunity to add a guy like that, you I guess you could take the initiative to do so. Let me get their last year record real quick so I can ask myself the over and under, and everybody else as well. This was the community team 2 years ago. I think it was. It was a community team. They went 46-36 last year. I think the prior season, what I was referring to in the introduction, they went 47-35, 48-34. So 48-34 2 years ago, 46-36 last year. So like I said, they think that they're almost there. So what did they do this offseason to get a little closer with this competitive Western Conference? They said, hey, DeMar DeRozan, let's trade for you. They re-signed Malik Monk, well deserved. Phenomenal year he was having last year. Sucks that he didn't have to finish the year out. And then they also acquired Jalen McDaniels from Toronto in exchange for Davion Mitchell, who at the time of that draft, I didn't understand that pick either. I wasn't a fan of that pick because again, Fox was your guy. You're going to get your spurts of good defense from Davion, but that's not a guy that you can play 30 plus minutes a night. And if you draft a guy top 10, in my opinion, they should be viewed as somebody that you want to build around, or somebody that you can bank on and to be a 30 plus minute a night guy for you. And Davion was never going to reach those heights because they play the same position. And they wasn't rolling with Fox and Davion to start and close and finish a lot of games. Let me put it like that. He's a good player. He's a good defender, obviously, just undersized. Now to the Kings, man. Personally, 46-36 last year.
Yeah.
Man. That's tough. Fox, Keon, Kevin, Malik, Keegan, DeRozan. You trade Harrison, I believe. I think they traded Harrison. He left for free agency. However that went. Sabonis. Who else am I missing? Trey Lyles, who's a good role player for them. And Alex Lynn. 46 wins over under. Damn, bro, that's tough. I'm gonna say under because I think they get 44 or 45 wins. So I'm gonna say under. I can't have all these teams in the West winning 48, 50 games or whatever the case may be. So I'm gonna get them to under for right now. How much you think DeMar helps, if at all? I think DeMar can help in one when Fox or Sabonis is not on the floor. I think him and Monk can run some second units, and you still want to have to score on the field. Or I was about to say field, floor, both of those guys. I think he sort of kind of can help in the half-court setting as well, where he can get his go-to shots in the mid-range area. He also was an isolation guy as well. He can give them that aspect that they probably didn't really have. Honestly, their bread and butter is the Fox and Sabonis pick and roll, or Sabonis being the hub at the top of the key while you have back screens and pin downs and things of that nature. He's a good connected passer. He's a good low-post guy that can score on the block. Obviously, a great rebounder as well. So I think the Rose will give him that aspect. A little bit of isolation, a little bit of second unit running, if you ask me. And yeah, he gives them a different look, isolation and second unit running, and good regular season scoring. He's going to be a guy that's going to score the basketball throughout the regular season, so you can never get mad at that. That's always a positive thing for them. And Keegan Murray, like you still got your spacing with Keegan and Kevin. Presume that those are the two starting lineup, the two starters. And if you want to go with Keon Ellis, he's going to bring you good defense as well. So they got a lot of different things they can do. I wish they were a little stronger in the defensive side when it comes to perimeter perspective. I think Keegan is their best defender in their starting lineup. If this is their starting lineup, which I probably would be their starting lineup, and then you'll go Fox, obviously. As far as what's next for them, like I said, they've been flirting with 50 wins the last two seasons. They made the playoffs 2 years ago. I don't think they made the playoffs last year. Then they lost in the play-in. Um, and what's next is them trying to continue to build on what they've been the last 2 years. You add a guy like DeRozan, who obviously been a 20-point per game scorer throughout his career, who can pass if need be, but his main specialty is trying to get buckets, trying to get mine. He's also a good leader as well, a good veteran, good leader. That team could definitely use that in that locker room. He also brings experience. So, yeah, and clutch too. You definitely have two of the most clutch players in the league with Fox and DeRozan over the last 2 years. Um, and what's next is them trying to just build on what they were or who they were the last 2 years. Stay with that fast-paced offense. Still got a good coach in Mike Brown. Uh, and yeah, man, I guess the move helps them mainly throughout the regular season, probably. But I don't think this move puts them in the upper echelon of teams in the West. When you think of the Nuggets, when you think of the Wolves, when you think of Dallas, and when you think of, in my opinion, OKC and Memphis. Do I think it's clunky? Nah, I wouldn't say clunky. Liz would be a good person to get in here. I wouldn't say clunky. I would say interesting. I think it'll be an interesting fit. I think it'll be something that I want to see how they make it work. But I wouldn't say clunky because DeRozan is a guy that he sort of kind of controls who his defender is, right? So what I mean by that is like even if DeRozan on the 3 point line for or in the corner, right, and a person is sagging off him or whatever the case may be, he can still make them pay. Like when he gets the ball, like he doesn't have to settle for that 3 point shot. He's not going to settle. He's going to get to that mid range area. He's going to use his pump fake. He's going to shoot over either shoulder. He's going to get his. I wouldn't say clunky, but I think it'd be a good it'll be a good fit. It'll be a good move for them personally, for that Kings team, mainly just due to the experience, and what he's gonna bring to the table. I've been rapping for like 2 minutes now. Before I pass to the Dirk or Jordan or Byron or whoever, we actually got Liz in the building. Liz, what's going on in here right now? One, good morning. I think you're on the West Coast like me. Good morning. We're doing basically what's next for all 30 NBA teams. When you start off, just start off with the over/under mark. You guys went, I think it was 46 wins last year. Do you think you guys are going to go over or under? Talk about the DeRozan fit, and then um, what do you think is next for your team this season and seasons after, Liz?
Yeah, what's up, y'all? I mean, I like the DeRozan fit. I think it's a clear upgrade over, Harrison Barnes. At least on the offensive end. Defensively, I mean, obviously that's going to be an issue, but Harrison Barnes was an issue as well defensively. I mean, I like our squad going into the season. Like I said, we upgraded in that position, and then I think, obviously we have Fox coming back. They re-signed Malik Monk to like a really, super team-friendly deal. So having him coming back, I think Kevin Herter, he's coming back off of that shoulder surgery. So having him coming back healthy, I think he'll probably be coming off the bench would be my best guess. But we'll find out more once training camp and all that starts. So I think if you have like Malik, Kevin off the bench, Devin Carter's probably. I don't think Devin Carter's going to play this year because he had his surgery, so he could probably be back around like January. But if I were them, I would probably just redshirt him for the his first year and then work him into the year two. But yeah, you have Sabonis, who obviously is really reliable. And then Keegan, I mean, if Keegan can take another step forward in, the development of his game, I think that'll also be super helpful. And then, if you have a guy like, sorry, I'm blanking. Yeah, Keon Ellis, we plugged him in at the end of the season last year, and I thought he did really well, especially on the defensive end. So if you can plug him in, he can, do what he does defensively, I feel like that's kind of all we need. And then obviously, if he can start to contribute a little bit offensively, I think that's going to be really key as well. So I like us. I have us going over that 46.5 wins. Um, I think like now, once you getting a guy like DeRozan, I think that kind of starts to open up. Like obviously, we had a disappointing season last year, and not making the playoffs and things like that. But obviously, health will factor into all of this. But I think this is their time to kind of start competing, um, in the playoffs and then potentially for a championship in the next couple years.
Okay. Um, yeah, I said as I was talking. Did you come in here when somebody mentioned you? That's what made you pop in.
Yeah, I saw
Oh,
the
so you have the
notification.
notifications on.
Yeah,
So I now know I can mention you. Okay. Yeah, man.
yeah, I'll get it
You
done.
had a big win over my Ravens, man. I would love to hear from you. But not.
Oh yeah, I football. I don't really give a fuck about because our team's shit. So I'm out on football already.
Twin,
Yeah.
what, bruh? Damn.
Okay. Yeah. And me talking, I was basically saying, like before I got to the DeRozan edition and things of that nature, I was just saying like how 48 and 34 2 years ago, 46 and 36 last year. So you guys are flirting, winning 50 games. You guys been flirting with not flirting, but you guys been trying to see what is the necessary steps you got to do to improve your team. You flirted around with the Kyle Kuzma, right? Uh, Fast forward, you land a guy like DeMar DeRozan. Heaven Sent was asking me, well, like, what do I think the fit will be like? Do I think it'll be clunky or whatever the case may be? I don't know if I did too good explaining it. All in all, I like the move though. Why do you think, as a Kings fan, they'll be a good fit for your team?
I mean, just like obviously, I don't think Harrison and Demar are like the same player, but DeMar can get his own shot. Like he can get his own bucket, and that's something that the Kings really struggled with, especially down the stretch last season. Because when you lose, you had Fox and you had Sabonis, but then they lost Kevin Herter, who they relied on heavily in the DHO, and then they lost Malik Monk down the stretch, who they also relied heavily in creating offense, especially with guys like Demontis and things like that. So when you lose those two guys, and you only have Fox, basically the only one on the team that can create his own shot and like get a bucket, like you're basically screwing yourself. So if you can bring in a guy like DeRozan who can create his own shot, who can get a bucket, who can get to the basket, who can get to the free throw line, like that's something that we really needed because Harrison Barnes would do that. He just wouldn't do it consistently, and that was our issue because he'd show up some games. One game he'd have like 10 points, next game he'd have 0 points, 0 rebounds, and he was basically, unplayable. So I think the fit, like, it's gonna maybe be weird, maybe for like the first couple weeks, just
Mm.
trying to figure out. But like, I don't think it's gonna hurt us. Like, I think eventually, like, once those guys get comfortable together, and like Demonis and DeRozan have been actually working in LA together, off the DHOs and things like that. Like, obviously, it's not game stuff, but they're like building that chemistry with each other. So I don't think it's gonna be a bad fit, like people are saying. I think when you have that much offensively, like I said, when you have a De'Aaron Fox, when you have a Malik Monk, Sabonis obviously like he needs to take more shots in the mid range. I think like that's one where I hate what Sabonis does. Like he's just way too hesitant in the mid range. So I wish he would start doing that. But like when it comes to like DeMar DeRozan, like I said, he can get to the basket, he can shoot a three. Obviously I don't think he has like crazy amount of like threes per game or anything like that, and his percentage is not like super good as well. But he's definitely going to get looks, and he's definitely going to be open, especially when you have guys like De'Aaron Fox going downhill at you. So yeah, I don't think the fit's going to be an issue with us.
Yeah. I like it.
That part.
One of the pushbacks was I like it though personally again, but one of the pushbacks from Airbnb slash Heaven Sent was how is he going to work in isolation or one on one with no spacing? What's your response to that?
I mean, I don't think our spacing is an issue because we're technically like we do sometimes we're at like 5 out. So I think if he's in isolation, I mean, like I said, Harrison Barnes did it multiple times, and like against the, if you go back and watch when he played, I think it was the last game against the Warriors, not the play-in game, but like the last regular season game, he like cooked the Warriors in pretty much isolation all fucking games. So our spacing has never really been an issue because we technically most of the time generally will play 5 out. So I think our spacing will be fine.
Okay.
I think a lot with the fit. Um, just to add on, I think what I'm gonna be watching for, because I know D Fox Yeah, we saw a little uptick, if I'm not mistaken, with his threes last year. I think he got to like almost 8 or something like that. Okay,
Yeah, he was taking
efficiency.
like 8 a game, I believe, was
Yeah.
his.
So the next thing, I mean, nah. So for me, it's just about what I don't know what the catch and shoot numbers look like. Like obviously, because he dominate the ball. So I want to know like what his catch and shoot like three volume look like. Because if
De'Aaron's or
he
DeMar's?
De'Aaron
Fox.
Fox, yeah.
Um,
I don't know what that volume look like. That's gonna be big for their fit.
yeah, I mean,
Agree.
obviously, like
Agree.
De'Aaron, his bet, like, because I think what he was really cooking on was not last year, but the year before was like his mid range. That's when he won like Clutch Player of the Year. Like in the fourth quarter, he was like unstoppable at the mid range. Like he would just go get a bucket and that was it. Last
Yeah,
year, he obviously started taking more threes, and I think, he like had games where he struggled, and then he had games where he was like absolutely fucking on fire. So I think like hopefully this year he can kind of find that like happy medium. But I
yeah,
don't think like his catching threes are like I don't think his percentage is terrible on that, but I'd have to go
yeah,
look at it.
yeah. Because if it's percentage straight and he can uptick the volume a little bit, that can work for they fit. Because I don't think DeMar and Sabonis is a bad fit. Because I think DeMar can do the DHO stuff with Sabonis. So that's why I think D Fox catch and shoot three is gonna be big for them. Because I mean, most people gonna say, you gonna let D Fox shoot. I think Twin just said it in the chat. You gonna let him shoot the three. But if he start knocking down a couple, and people start to close out to him, we know what D Fox can do. If it's like a hard closeout, if they start to respect him, so that's
Well,
what
I
I'm be looking
think
for.
too. I think like I go back to this like a lot too with a lot of Kings fans because people like shit on Kevin Herter and like obviously like he's really struggled, pretty much like the past season and a half with the Kings. But the thing with Kevin Herter is he's like he can get hot at any moment, and teams respect that, so they like obviously will cover him. Like I remember Keon Ellis. I want to say it was the final like regular season game against the Pelicans. Like I think he scored like 20 something points and he was just shooting threes and like they weren't guarding him. And I'm like, that's the thing with these players. Like if they don't respect you out there, they'll let you shoot those threes all day. So when De'Aaron like when he actually starts like constantly knocking down threes, like they're going to have to respect him on that line. And until then, like they may not. But I think now with DeRozan, like it's going to be a matchup nightmare because I guarantee like a lot of the time our closing lineup is going to consist of De'Aaron, DeMar, and Monk, and I think that's just like that's a nightmare from hell for a lot of opposing defenses.
Let me say something real quick.
Feel
My
free.
biggest problem with the DeMar signing, just from like we seen their bread and butter when they run that Fox, Sabonis, high PNR, and then they have three shooters on the other side. You got Keegan, you got a Herder, and you got you feel me? You got the other one. It was
Who's the
Harrison
other
Barnes
one? Who's the
at
other one?
times. It was Harrison Barnes at times.
Okay.
Yeah, but like they run the same action like the pistol five. You got two lefties. And if teams were guarding that a certain way, you got the Sabonis DHO, and he's one of the best screeners in the game. Like I don't know how well DeMar is going to be utilizing these Sabonis. Like he's never played with a big. Like I mean, he did. I'm gonna be honest. I can't say that because Vucevic, to a lesser degree, if you watch any of the Bulls games, they started to run when Levine got hurt. They started to run a lot of Vucevic front court actions. So I might have walked that back. I might fuck with it actually.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think people like like obviously it's going to be a
What the fuck? Yo, Tweet kills me. Liz and Tween, thank you.
call. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Oh,
you.
so I was just saying, because I think Demar's like 36 now, so his career is obviously winding down. So obviously, like we're not expecting him because he averaged like 24 points a game last season. Like I'm not expecting him to do that. If he does that, fucking great, because that's obviously going to help us. But I think if he can work within that offensive system and like just get some type of rhythm going, and like I said, like if he can play like a Harrison Barnes role, but actually like be effective in that role like consistently, that's all we really need him to do. Like we don't need him to be a hero or anything on that team because you already have a guy. You have your guy in De'Aaron that is going to be obviously that team leader.
But do you think the signing of not signing the trading for DeMar, do you think that hinders Keegan to a? I'm not gonna say it's gonna stunt his growth, but he might not be what we thought. Like the trajectory he kept going on. You feel me?
Yeah, I mean that's obviously a big question too. I don't personally think it's going to. I think it's going to help because you have a guy with his basketball mind, you know, helping. I think Keegan, and then obviously like Keegan's bread and butter so far is a catch and shoot type of three situation. So I think that'll help when they're running those DHOs and like if DeMar is going to the basket and someone has to help, you're gonna have your pick and choose who you want to kick out to, and Keegan's gonna find that spot. So Keegan, like what he really needs to work on now, and he started showing flashes of this last year, is his ability to get to the basket, draw fouls, get to the free throw line, things like that. Because he actually started doing it coming off the dribble, getting to the basket, dunking, getting fouled, getting to the free throw line. So I think he'll be fine. He's willing to put in the work, and I think he's obviously willing to do what it takes to, help this team win. But I don't think it's going to stunt his growth at all. I think it's going to help having a veteran in the locker room like that.
Yep,
That's a good.
I'm with you because, and I'm gonna add pit stop at Derek. I don't know if Derek or Jordan chimed in, and then we're gonna go ahead and head to the last two teams. But what was I saying? Yeah, man, I'm not mad at it. I've top of my head, I think Keegan probably averaged 17 or 18 last year, but I'm fine with Keegan averaging 15 this year, with DeRozan, Sabonis, and Fox being above that mark, obviously, right? I think Keegan would be a perfect number 4 guy for this team at the moment. And then, like she just said, DeRozan up in the age. By the time Keegan is 24, 25, he did numerous years in college. I'm sorry, hold on, let me clean up that age. I don't like talking about facts.
I believe he's like 24 now.
Yeah, so he's already 24, my bad. 26, 27, for example. He'll be a damn good player. That's going to be a guy that's entering where he should be playing his best basketball when you get to that 25 to 28 range. You can see who you're going to be for the rest of your career for the most part. So I like him having the experience to play alongside DeRozan and also having the experience to be a number 4 option on a real good team. You see a lot of young players get put in situations or even get put on good teams where off rip they got to be the number 2 option or number 3 option, and they sort of kind of would struggle in certain roles like that, or not perform on a night-to-night basis. For example, Miami with Tyler Hero, he had to come in and be the number 3 option for a good team, a good playoff team. His rookie season, he went to the finals, for example. So, that's just my quick little one too. I like them getting the Rosen and Keegan being number 4 option. I'm gonna pass it to, I think Byron chimed in, Derek and Jordan, and then we'll move.
You got it first, Jordan, if you want.
Oh man. I think this team is gonna be absolute hell on nights in the regular season. I think what they call the arena? What they call the arena? Like? Yeah, I think Gold One's gonna be crazy. I think you're gonna have a lot of nights where, DeMar and Fox are hitting tough middies in the clutch and kickoffs to Keegan, and shit gonna be great on a lot of nights. I think it'll be an adjustment up front. Great on a lot of nights once they get going. I think they're going a pretty good record run throughout the middle of the season. And then when the playoffs come around, I need to see it because it sounds good as far as like how to keep them all from operating in the same spots, but I'm going to lean on the other side as far as playoff success in terms of how effective it will be. So I just got to see it first.
Yeah, I mean,
I got to see
we've only been in the playoffs once in the past, 16 years. So that, they obviously got the taste of it against the Golden State Warriors, and that I thought was a really great series for them to kind of dip their toes in. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And at the time, the Warriors were coming off their championship. So I think just that experience alone, like, obviously they had the down year, and but they only regressed by losing 2 more games, and then obviously
Yep.
we just couldn't figure out the Pelicans to save our fucking lives. So yeah, it's going to come down to, them like getting that experience in the regular season together, figuring out what they need to do, figure out what works, what doesn't work. But like my areas of concern are just defensively, obviously, especially with DeRozan. And then obviously, Sabonis, there's obviously the questions about him defensively. But I think like since he's been under Mike Brown, like I think his defense has definitely improved. I'm not saying it's like he's a fucking defensive player. I'm just saying it has improved. But yeah, I think it's all going to come down to like the steps that we take defensively, and if we can do that, then I think we can definitely see some, stuff happening in the playoffs. Because I'm not worried about our offense. Like we're obviously going to score, but defensively, that's where I'm worried about once it comes playoff time, because that's where you really have to lock in defensively.
And then I can't believe I'm gonna say this. Tween made a great point about what is the impact going to be on Keegan? I'm interested because they're gonna, when is his contract up? When is it time to pay him soon?
Who you talking
I
about?
believe next
Keegan.
year.
Keegan.
Yeah, they're gonna pay him to be something that he's going to have to be for them to be successful in the future. So
What
he's gonna have.
did DeRozan lock in?
Yeah, we got him for 3 years. He's on a 3-year.
Yeah,
like,
so
the third year is partially guaranteed. But
their books are gonna get a little weird. I don't know how that matches up with the CBA and the cap rise and all that. Their books are gonna get a little interesting. Because D Fox has to re-up, doesn't he? Or does he not? Or is he already?
I think he already resigned.
No.
Okay.
And Keegan's got one more year after this.
We offered to extend him last offseason. He didn't. And then we offered to extend him this offseason. He didn't. Kind of basically what he's kind of waiting for. And, I'm totally fine with it. He's basically waiting to see if he can make an All-NBA team to obviously get the max. And then he's kind of waiting to see how the roster takes shape as well. So.
Yep. It's gonna. And so, like, for that reason, him looking at the team and saying, okay, I don't want to necessarily commit right now. And then if he does the money, Keegan's going to have to be at worst their third best player, in my opinion, going into the future. If you're going to pay him what you're going to pay him when he re-ups, because he's probably going to want a max, command the max, whatever. So you don't want his growth hindered. I'm not saying that DeMar will, but they got to really. It's interesting because it's almost like they're not on two timelines per se, but something like that is a factor that they have to consider, and it might not necessarily be something that they're worried about this year because they have DeMar, Sabonis, and Fox. But you still got to think about that in the back of your head, like, okay, we got to try to keep D Fox happy. We got to also pay D Fox, then we have to pay Keegan, and then you have him, Sabonis, and Keegan, Fox, Sabonis, and Keegan, and DeMar. You gotta have good tertiary pieces, but you might only have so much more. So it's just they also got logistics they got to figure out as well as on the court. People got to keep an eye on that and thoughts on that in terms of like Keegan's development and how DeMar could impact that this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think De'Aaron will leave. Like, I just, I think they're obviously trying to do enough, to compete, and I think that's why they went out and obviously did this DeMar DeRozan thing, because like they could have sat back and waited to kind of see maybe what happened with Brandon Ingram, or continue maybe to try to pry Kyle Kuzma away from the Washington Wizards. But with DeMar DeRozan, like I think it was just like kind of a perfect fit to like bring him in. And obviously like De'Aaron was one, like he went literally to the meeting, went to lunch with DeMar. They spent all day together. So like De'Aaron was in that, he was one of the people like pushing for that DeMar DeRozan signing. So like obviously if he's doing that, like that's something that's making him happy. And then again, like I said, yeah, he's just wanting to get that max money.
Russ was at the Darvingham contract signing.
Also, you're forgetting
much.
They were all in on the market and trade, but they just didn't want to give up Keegan. So that was
that's not even actually true. We according to people within like the organization that like I know have like really good
just
sources,
got some love for a good take time.
I thought that's what they
offered
reported.
a pretty good package.
That's what they
a
reported.
Good package, but Utah was never trading. Utah was never doing it.
Yeah, I mean, so that the initial report that was cited, that wasn't what was going on.
What? I'm sorry, I got a phone call. What'd you say?
I said the initial marketing for Keegan when they reported that, you're saying that was not true. That was just basically Utah leveraging the situation.
Correct. The Kings never once offered Keegan in any packages. They offered a pretty hefty package, from what I was told from like people within the Kings organization, that like I know have sources. So they offered a pretty hefty package, but Keegan was never involved. Like that was from the get go. They said no, like Keegan will not be involved. But it was a pretty sweet deal. But I just think they knew that Utah was never going to trade Lori, unless basically we gave the fucking house to Utah, and Monty was not doing that.
Damn, man. Did we even do the what's next part? We did the what's next part there?
Yeah, I did it. She did it. I think that her the only two that really spoke for Jordan just went. And then Derek is about to go.
Damn, man.
Yeah, I mean, as far as wins, this is as close to a post as you can get of just having the same record. The Clippers are not going to be as good as they were last year. I hope that's pretty obvious. So I feel like the wins are available, but then you got Memphis coming back. You know, San Antonio might be a little better, not by a ton, but a little bit better. The Jazz are in there, Houston's in there, Golden State, we don't know. So it's a lot of question marks. But I like this team, honestly. This is a team that I think has a clear 9-man rotation, which I always like. If it were me, if I was Coach Brown and his staff, I would have Keon start at the 2 because I want that on-ball defense. Second half of the season, Kings defense was top 10. They finished just above league average defensively, I think 14th. So they're sneakily a good defensive team. Play with good pace, have a good offense. Obviously, DeRozan's helping you offensively. I think as far as the spacing, especially in the regular season, I'm not concerned. DeRozan can slide in just fine with the pistol and DHO actions that the Kings have mastered already. Fox is a league average 3-point shooter. Keon can sit in the corner. Keegan can shoot. The only one who really can't physically shoot is Sabonis. And so if I put Sabonis in the dunker, or if I just copy Miami Heat and do the handoffs with Bam and just have movement shooting that way, I feel completely fine. Off the bench.
Sabonis, the thing with Sabonis though is because I've actually kind of went back and watched some of his like older clips, like especially when he was like a rookie with OKC. He can shoot. I just don't know why he's fucking hesitant to do it with his team. Like I really don't. Like he can actually shoot the mid-range.
He doesn't take them, so I'm
going
to treat him like a non-shooter.
I get that, but I'm just saying, like, if he could just shoot like a few more a game or do something, I'm like, dude, you can shoot those, and I'm okay if you miss them, but like, you need to be aggressive because these defenses sometimes, like with Kevon Looney, obviously in that fucking Golden State Warriors series, like exposed him. I was like, you can't just expect to like get to the basket every time. So Sabonis, he needs to fucking figure it out and shoot at least a few, because he was shooting threes too, which is crazy. He was shooting like 2 threes a game. So I'm like, if you could just fucking shoot 2 threes a game, you could shoot fucking mid-ranges. Like, just fucking shoot them. Goddamn.
Even in Indiana, I remember it was him and Turner, bro. He was shooting that little midi.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what is with him? It's weird. He's like terrified of doing it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest.
So even with that, I think they have good spacing. That leaves Monk and Herter coming off the bench, which is great 2-man action that you can get just from there. Herter could potentially start. I just don't like his defense, and I think he's too streaky. I think he's better off the bench. Malik Monk, I think that's Herter, an incredible. Yeah,
Herter's done as a starter. I probably bet that Keon Ellis is starting in that too come regular season.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hope that's the case. And the fact they got Monk back was incredible. I thought for sure he was going to be a member of the Magic, but they re-signed Monk. That's an awesome piece to have. And yeah, I think this is a dominant regular season team. Defensively, they've got some tough matchups, but again, a tight rotation I feel good about. Even if Devin Carter never sees the floor this season, you have him coming back next year, so he gets to sit and watch, if nothing else. That's going to be cool. So I like their prospects. It really just comes down to, can Sabonis figure it out in the playoffs? And do you have enough defensive juice to get you over the hump, depending on the matchup? But I think they're going to be a good regular season team. And
I think another piece
I think they've got enough.
Yeah, I think another piece like that's not talked about, and obviously like I think in the NBA, like your role players are very fucking important for your success, right? So like Trey Lyles, I think is really like a good role player. Like he plays within his role. He can fucking shoot the three. And I think what hurt him last year is he missed all of training camp pretty much, and then he wasn't playing like the first like I think month of the season because he had a calf injury. So having him back fully healthy, I think too is gonna like really help this team out because they can do that small ball lineup if they want to with Trey Lyles at the five, and it really worked. Like against, I remember when they played. This was not last year, I think, but the year before when they played against Minnesota. Like Rudy Gobert was having a fucking nightmare trying to guard Trey Lyles out on the three. So if they can go to that small ball five lineup too as well if they want to, and sometimes that like with DeMar DeRozan, I think that will also kind of be like a matchup nightmare as well.
Yeah, I hope my Sixers steal Trey Lyles after next season. But yeah, like good bench. McDaniels probably shouldn't see the floor much. That's why I think he got like a legit 9-man rotation. But
well, yeah,
really good
I mean,
team.
and his contract isn't. I think they had to wait until like after the 28th or something, so they can offload that contract if they want to. And then they signed a backup point guard in Jordan McLaughlin from the
from
Timberwolves.
Minnesota.
So he'll probably not see much of the floor. Like he'll obviously be depth for injury, but yeah, if like Devin Carter, I'm kind of fine with him not even playing this season because coming back from a shoulder injury is always kind of scary. So if they just sit him for the first season, I'm kind of fine with that. But if they can somehow get him back too, like just defensively, I think he would help as well on the defensive end. But yeah, I think this team they have stuff to work with. Now it's on the coaching staff to kind of make it work. The only thing I'm kind of concerned about is we lost Jordy Fernandez, who was our head assistant coach, to Brooklyn, and he's a really big piece on that defensive end. So we'll kind of see how it all works. But I just think this team, I think they're ready to lock in, and I think they're ready to, hopefully, make some noise in the playoffs.
Twin, what is you talking about, bro?
Thank you to everybody that spoke out on the Sacramento Kings. Good conversation. We talked about the Pistons so far. Good conversation. Talk about the Raptors. Good conversation. Talk about the Kings. Good conversation. 2 more teams to go, and then next Wednesday we'll pick up 5 more. Thursday we'll pick up 5 more. Thursday we're going to start the positional rankings or Wednesday or Thursday we're going to start the positional rankings as well. Or might knock out duos first and then start positional rankings on that Thursday. This introduction. You went back and listened to Bad Convo on the Pills. Yeah, man, Hollywood, they not fucking with it. They not fucking with the Pills, Hollywood. They ain't
Twin,
fucking
I
with
hear
it.
you.
You know
I hear you, Twin. I hear you, Twin.
I like it though, Hollywood, but they not fucking with it. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna be another team that's gonna be interesting to watch. But Zion said it what today? He got reported. He on a vengeance. He on a vengeance this year. So we gonna see.